Everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. Today we have Ian Everard joining us. Bring him up on board. If I can here. There we go. Ian, welcome in.
Hey there, little C. How you doing?
Good, good. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. The sky is cleared. We've had a bit of smoke the last few days from Oregon and California. But yeah, clearer skies today, so that's nice.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, here California is really having some big fires, huh?
Yeah,
Gio Lopez, welcome in. Gerald Draper, Neil's Han Dynasty. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so yeah, I hear they had at least one good one going. You said Oregon has one going as well?
Oregon's got a fire going. Idaho's got a fire going. You got one down in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of fires this year. Texas got it really bad there.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Fires and flooding, and there's been some heavy weather so far this summer in some areas.
I hope stackers in those regions had good fireproof safes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one positive for gold and silver, right? Is you just refining it at most. If it melts down, I guess.
I guess it's still there. Yeah,
it doesn't go away anyway. Yeah, you might lose some numismatics, but your core
still have the metal. Yeah, I guess you'd have to maybe make friends with your local refiner first, just to stay in the loop.
Right. And that's one place where I think what is it? The slabs can become a problem is in fires, because that plastic often melts down onto the coin, and not that that ruins it, but it kind of does if it's any type of coin. Not that a fire altogether isn't bad, but those slab coins really get caked together as well. I've seen some of those after some fires. Nickel stacking, good to see you. So yeah, how's the shop been doing over the past couple weeks?
Pretty steady. Yeah, got some local clients coming in, but yeah, town is fairly quiet. Not as busy as last year.
Yeah. Definitely had a price come down on us there pretty hard there for a minute.
Yeah, we've silver 27.35 low this week, and we're bouncing around the high 29.13 at the moment.
Yeah, bounced back.
So that's a big range, isn't it?
Yeah, and I kind of am thinking that's gonna possibly start happening a little bit more. Is getting just more volatile. What do you think about that?
Volatility is baked in, isn't it? Particularly with silver.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think I'm fully persuaded that it's pretty well continually manipulated. There's no practical reason why it would be so volatile.
Yeah. Well, I think my guess is that we'll start to see some more volatility because of because like we're talking the suppression, and then having to them trying to, like just now, like they're knocking it down, and I think in actuality it's pressures to the upside. So people were laughing not long ago. We're seeing couple dollar moves right now.
Yeah,
and they were saying, oh, the guy was going off on somebody saying that we might see $5 moves, and that'll never happen. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to be so sure that we're not going to see that. So
I mean, $1. I mean, yeah, $1 is what, nearly 3% move, isn't it?
Is that what it is? Okay,
yeah. Roughly, yeah. I mean, yeah, 10% would be $3. So yeah, $1 is about a 3% move. So $5 move. I think it's probable.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it might be in the cards too coming up.
I
And
see Nickel there saying Iran is going to blitz Israel. Yeah, it's what a mess, isn't it? That situation. No answer that everybody's happy. It's
sure, yeah. And speaking of military, after our last talk here a couple weeks ago, the next day I seen a video that the U.S. military has invested in Canadian mineral mines for copper, gold, metals, and uh, rare earths.
and that's official. You found that's official
Yeah,
data.
it was official. I should have grabbed the page. I'll try to
That,
get it
yeah,
next time. But yep.
I didn't know they had a mineral purchasing policy, so maybe they're buying up the silver on the dips.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like we were talking, they took it out of the military. We used to back in the, I don't know, it's 50s or 60s. We knew what we were coming out of World War II, I think, if I remember right. We knew what we were spending militarily wise with silver. Then they
Okay.
decided to take it out. We no longer know how much they're using. And so it was kind of piqued my interest. Been looking at, like how much silver we have vaulted and on stock, and then where some of these, there's some unknowns, and one of them is the military, and
So just thinking around that LLC, one way we could find out if we buy a share in all of the military supplying companies, Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, all of the companies that supply, surely in their full report they would show what they'd purchased and what they'd sold.
that's a very good
I mean, there must be a
question.
figure. Boeing must. I mean, if it's a listed company,
Boeing, I would think you probably would, but things like the military ones, I bet they get around. I bet they don't have to list.
you can buy shares in Raytheon, can't you? Lockheed Martin and all.
Yeah, I personally have a moral problem with that, so I don't. But
I would say not for profit, but just buy the minimum so you've got access to all of the data, and if it's not
yeah,
public.
no, that'd be very interesting.
Because obviously that's where the US military is using its silver, unless they've got their own in-house manufacturing with experimenting. I don't know.
See, that's kind of what I'm noticing about that article, was that the military is obviously, because that's what it said, the USA military has invested in Canadian.
Right.
So that says that they at least are looking at it and thought future prospects, and that wasn't on silver particularly, but I'm just pretty sure that would be one of the things.
So did you get any Canadians watching the show that you're aware of, or?
Oh yeah, I've had some Canadians. Yep.
I mean, I was going to say, I'm going to say it anyway. You would have thought, if it comes to the crunch, wouldn't we just take Canada? Why would we have to buy anything?
Probably, I think they're probably already all sold out underneath the table anyway. Yeah.
Well, we would just take them, wouldn't we? If it really came to the crunch and we needed it.
Right.
What I mean, I know the mounted police are pretty impressive, but they're sort of outnumbered, aren't they?
Yeah. Hey, Southeast, good to see you. Let's see here. Yeah, and then of course, I've heard a lot of course, everything's political is just blown up lately. And then, so there's been a lot of talk about, oh, well, if the vote goes one way or if the vote goes the other way, that's going to have a big effect on the metals. And I kind of, in my mindset, is that's not the case. But what would you say about that?
Sorry, I was a bit distracted reading the comments. And you mean the election?
Well, yeah, it was kind of, I hear people saying, as far as metals are concerned, if the election goes one way or the other, it's going to have a big effect on metals. And in my thing, I think that'll be a big faux pas to believe that and to say, okay, well, now I don't need metals.
No, I think to suggest that or to think that you'd have to presume that the government is in charge.
Right.
make the presumption that whoever is the US government, they're not actually in charge.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that speech I mentioned to you earlier, I mean, it clearly boasts that the leading financiers who have the central power of wealth are using the strong arm of government. So that speech 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and pull that up and talk about it then. So Ian sent me over a paper here. Let me share my screen. And this is, well, you wanna tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. Shall I read it?
Sure.
Okay, so Montague Norman, he was the governor of the Bank of England, I think from the early 20s right way through to after the Second World War. I think he was the longest serving governor. 1916 to 1944. So in his early days, he was pretty well the most powerful man in the world. He was pulling the financial strings, pretty well the whole of the British Empire. Anyway, so he gave a speech to in New York City to the United States Bankers Association in 1924. Can you screen share it, or shall I read it out?
I don't know if I can. Can you read it from the?
Yeah, I can read it. I've got it printed here.
Okay, go ahead and I'll follow along on the screen. Yeah.
So you can find this from History Heist. If you Google History Heist,
okay.
HEIST, and then you put in Montague Norman 1924, you can find this speech. So we know it's exactly what he said word for word because it was printed in the Idaho Leader that year. And it was also read twice in the Australian Parliament because 2 Australian MPs thought it was important enough to make sure it got put into what's called the Hansard record. And now Hansard is the Australian Parliament and the British Parliament. Everything that is spoken in Parliament is transcribed and printed and put in a bound archive, just so people can't say, well, we didn't say that, we did say that.
Right.
It can't be edited, unlike digital content now. Stuff can disappear. Anyway, I'll read it out, and then maybe we'll come back round on why I think the government has a little actually effect on what happens in the United States.
Yep, and this is the governor of the Bank of England to the banksters.
Yeah, okay. The finest amongst them. Yeah, in New York City. Okay, capital must protect itself in every possible way, both by combination and legislation. Debts must be collected, mortgages foreclosed as rapidly as possible. When, through the process of law, the common people, that's us, lose their homes, they will become more docile and more easily governed through the strong arm of the government applied by a central power of wealth under leading financiers. These truths are well known among our principal men who are now engaged in forming an imperialism to govern the world. By dividing the voter through the political party system, we can get them to expend their energies in fighting for questions of no importance. It is thus, by discrete action, we can secure for ourselves that which has been so well planned and so successfully accomplished. And wow, it's 4 sentences. But basically, he is boasting that there is a group of leading financiers who are forming an imperialism to rule the world.
Yep.
I mean, this is just straight out of Ian Fleming's James Bond, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's exactly what I see written into words. Like I see it
Yeah.
differently in my mind, but this is, that's interesting.
So where you know, the second sentence here, where we go about the government. Okay, so basically he says if you take that sentence about the government and you read it backwards, at the top, the leading financiers applying a central power of wealth, using the strong arm of government to control the population.
Yep.
So what level is the government? The government is one step above us.
And I like exactly, and they do it like it says, right, by dividing the voter through the political party system. You can get them to expend their energies in fighting for questions of no importance.
And it's not just the political party system. It's race, it's ethnicity, it's immigration, it's abort. You name the subject.
Exactly.
You get polarized groups of people who become so polarized they stop talking to somebody with a different understanding or opinion.
Yep.
Division. And the more people are divided, the less, the weaker the population is.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. My son, we have a little kiddie pool outside, and they have those little pool noodles, they're called. And they're about 6 foot long or something, and they're flexible. And he took it and he formed kind of a horseshoe and said, "I got a magnet." And I was just thinking about it, you know, that's really what they do is they just use that energy, that force. You know, you got a positive and a negative, and you need that in a magnet for it to be magnetic. You know, it's part of the reality of the world to have, you know, feelings on both sides, you know, and that's what, and it's funny, like I was thinking about it, my channel has to do with bees. And if you were gonna do something with a beehive or move it or capture it, you got to get the hive to swarm. And a swarming of bees is when they all come out of their hive and they're all just flying all around the hive, but they're not in the hive. That's called a swarm. And that's oftentimes if the queen leaves or this, or if there's something bad going on within the hive. Or anyway, point being, before you can make radical changes or move or do something different, you've got to get the swarm. You've got to get the hive to swarm. You got to get that energy of that vibration, everybody up. And like there's I don't know what you call it mentally, but there's something that's going on there where you get the people into a new frame of state of mind.
Yeah.
And now they're off their base. They're out of the hive. They're ready for something new because of whatever. And that's it's very interesting that it seems to be their long time way of dealing with things, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if people would wake up and start practicing critical thinking. Why do I think what I think? Why do I believe what I believe?
Yeah.
If people would start assessing, and you know, I mean, you can look from this speech. I don't think it's any better than it was then. I think they've been successful in the last 100 years.
Oh boy.
I think there's more concentration of power.
Oh boy.
I think we don't even know who these leading financiers are.
Yep.
I think the names we do know are a distraction. They're not the real power base.
Fully agree.
You know, maybe some of them have got these so-called secret bunkers and ranches in New Zealand. I don't know.
Right.
But by what we do, by changing currency into money, we're stepping outside of part of their control. Yeah. Because these leading financiers control the currency. Yeah. And to a certain extent, they control the precious metals for a while, for a period. They can manipulate and they can cause volatility to scare people off from stepping outside of their world. So I can't see there's any way we can overthrow them, but we can sort of get around part of their plan.
Right. Right.
You know, and part of when it speaks about people being more docile and more governed, basically what it means, if people have got just enough to survive and a bit of hope that things might get better, they'll behave and turn up for work for the corporation, and enrich the corporation, and then basically get discarded when they're not useful anymore. And that's the objective, is to use the population as a mineral, Hugh mineral.
Yep, for sure. They have to keep that little bit of light off in the distance. Just so there's a little glimmer of something that you can, okay, well, if they can do that, I think it might be good for us. So like gives you something that you can hope for, and your focus is on, and that's it's probably pretty ridiculous. Like nowadays, when I'm looking at the hopes that they give us, if you boil it down, it's ridiculous anyway. But you can tell that it has an effect on most people, and it works. Well, another thing that's funny, I noticed in my son's school, is they're teaching them numbers now that we were not taught, because our debt is so big. Like they went, trillions, quadrillions, like these were numbers that I was not taught.
I know. It sounds like something off Transformers, doesn't it? Quadrillion.
Yeah, and it's funny, but I mean, that's our debt. You have to know that number now, because that's
derivatives are numbered in the quadrillions.
Right. So it's just it points out how huge this hole is, and we're living in a delusional area. And then that's what allows for these odd, unbalanced imbalances, I guess you would say.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to escape the political system we've got. I can't see. So I think the best we can do is do our own parallel thing, which is what we're doing.
Yes. Yep. I think it's the best tool that I can find, and it's safe. It's safe anyway. So yeah, I agree. And I did want to point out that, and we're talking about these numbers, my son having to learn new numbers, but that's all inflation is the increase in the money supply itself.
The abnormal increase, i.e. increasing it above and beyond any genuine increase in GDP.
Yep.
And you can bet we're lied to about what inflation is. We're lied to about what the state of actual employment is. All these statistics are massaged, manipulated, distorted to confuse, distract, and not convey the actual truth. So I think we can be 100% confident that the stated GDP is a lie as well.
Yes.
I think we might well have been in a permanent recession for 10 years or more, with no actual genuine growth. Because if you're keystroking dollars into existence, spending that on government programs and government employees, that's not GDP.
Right.
But it's counted as GDP.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I would like to try to do, because one thing, you hear the confusion of people running around and thinking that inflation is the rise in prices, and I mean that's partially the case, but that doesn't help. You can see people don't have their thinking right by looking at it that way. They're not realizing that it's the dollars increasing, at a crazy rate, not value for value, but at an inflationary rate. And so yeah, there's the definition.
I know George Gammon, he's found some information showing that the quantitative easing never stopped.
Oh,
so that graph, we're heading to the handle of the hockey stick on the creation of dollars. And I think the only reason it's not as bad in the US as it is in a lot of countries is when when the dollar is debased, diluted, it's not just the dollars that are created in the US, it's the dollars around the rest of the world.
Yep.
So each one of those is stolen from, and that doesn't affect us here directly. So,
right. Until finally people outside get hit enough and then find something else, and they start sending all those things home to us.
Well, there's a plan for that. I think I've worked out how they're going to sort that one out. If you so you might have heard me talk about, and I think you actually told me. I said, yeah, I was talking to you about it, and you said it was Clive on Monaco 64, the retired British banker.
Yep.
He said when they bring in the new digital dollar, you'll have a $2 system, digital dollars and old dollars.
Right. Yep.
And not all of the old dollars will transfer across to the new system.
Right.
So I was thinking just a week or so ago, talking to a client, I thought, oh my gosh, why, if it starts to get really rough financially worldwide, and people start, really aggressively attacking the US financial system, and there's the threat of all these euro dollars, and all that means is dollars created outside of the US.
Right. That's those dollars.
If there's a threat of those coming home, well, what happens if we go digital dollar? Then the Federal Reserve and the Treasury can say, yeah, we've got the digital dollars created outside of America. We didn't make them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're not part of the new system.
Right, for sure. That'd be
they can get shut out.
For sure. Yeah.
And then they'd have to stay out in the wild.
And they can let it, the other more evil, sinister part to that is they can let it run up the inflation for a while before they say, oh, okay, we better now funnel this off.
and dump all of that effective quantitative tightening instantaneously on the rest of the world.
Yeah, goodness.
Apart from the countries, I think, that are partnered, we've got the successor to NAFTA, Canada, Mexico, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and I'm thinking Britain will effectively become a member as well. So I think there will be some collaboration there, some warning. Best get rid of any dollars that weren't created in the US.
Yeah.
And it'd be a similar, wouldn't it, to the countries that fought back in the late 60s, the countries that fought they could convert $35 for an ounce of gold. They woke up and saw Nixon on Bonanza, wasn't it? He interrupted Bonanza and announced.
I think so. Yeah.
Bonanza, yeah. He announced a temporary suspension of convertibility of the dollar to gold. So how easy would it be to announce there's a temporary suspension of convertibility of euro dollars to the new digital dollar?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then everybody can do what they want with dollars that are not usable in America.
Yeah.
I cannot see what there's no real flaw in that, because it would be the nuclear option, but it'd be the option that would crush any pretenders to try and knock, to try and hurt America, because I think a lot of countries would probably take decades to recover if all of because for every debt there's a creditor, and most of the debts around the world are written in dollars. So now, yes, you'd get a group of people who would pay back their debts in worthless dollars, but you've got a group of people now who have lost that asset. I think it could very easily play out that way. I'm convinced.
In my mind, and this is just a young adolescent mind that's not young anymore, but that doesn't know what he's doing and thinking. But I have a feeling, from the way, I just kind of, I guess, feel that they want everyone broke. Like, so they sold gold until now suddenly they tell all the central banks, okay, now buy it until it's, just keep buying. Just buy and keep buying. And And now it's at a price where the common man can't get in. They haven't told really the common man yet what's going on.
No, it's getting a bit, 2000, what we broke 2,450 today. We're in the high 2,440s. When you add a premium, so say a $50 premium for a crew grand or something, you're now $2,500 for one coin.
And we're just getting started, I think. And so
yes,
I feel like, yeah, they've sucked it down to the very bottom. They've got it down. I think they want to keep control within. I think that's why they're telling the big banks to stack gold, is because they need to not lose their base. But otherwise, the money has pretty well been sucked out. Like it's just it's a fake lie, we know and understand. So
yeah, and if you think, I mean, one way of looking at the dollar practically, if you work your whole life and you build up a dollar-denominated IRA, or or a pension payable by your employer, that's your life you've given.
Yep.
To have that to retire on.
Yep.
But it doesn't even exist.
Right, I'm with you.
Space Miner had asked a question a while back about. I guess you can't go back on the comments.
Probably. Let's see here. Let me see. If
he asked about how practical would it be to have. Here we go. To sustain an economy by use of a metal. I think very.
Yeah.
And I think the smaller your economy, the easier, the less complicated. I mean, we're really blessed. We live in a valley with multiple great independent farms that grow great crops. We've got great farmers that raise cattle. We got people who cut and deliver firewood. So I think your core, where we live, it would be very simple to build an economy where the bulk of the necessary goods and services were metal and gold. And I think the advantage would be that would start to rule out the big corporations, because they wouldn't participate in that. And then that wealth would circulate within the community. And it was interesting. I was talking to my bank teller. I don't know if I got them here. I don't know where I put them. I didn't realize $2 note bills were common. So I got talking to him about them, and he's been in banking for decades. And he says the physical currency stays in the same region. It will go from the bank, it will get distributed out. People will spend it. It will go back to the bank, and from the bank, it will go to a regional. Here it goes to Salt Lake. There's a Federal Reserve vault there. And then it goes back out to the same banks again. And he says, as a teller, he noticed the same notes with the same signatures on, the same markings would go back and forth, and stay in the same region.
Yeah.
So that shows that if the more people started using gold and silver, and even, maybe copper coins, it would stay in the community.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, we already have states that are looking to do it. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be. And then, and actually, it's just a value for value proposition here. And that's, I mean, when Nixon said, he said, we're coming off the gold standard. And then a couple sentences later, he says, now, for those of you who might be worried, we want to make sure that you understand we're going to be a forward-looking, good, honest trading partner in the future. So don't worry.
Yeah, and gold then was $35, but you couldn't buy it. But if say you could buy it, so now it's 2,450 divided by 35. It's nearly 170 times in dollar terms.
So
what Nixon was saying, there's no way your dollar's going to devalue, and it actually has devalued by a factor of 70. It's got 1/70th of its purchasing power that it had in 1970.
Yep. And if he would have, if you would have, let's say, well, we know we ran into too big to fail. So then everything's out the window. But if you would have kept it somewhat honest value for honest value, that's why they used to have what they called tally sticks. Have you ever heard about those?
Oh yes, yeah.
And that's the same thing, right? It's not, when they got down to tally sticks,
Yeah.
it's just a way of keeping track of your books, basically, right? Keeping
It's
honest value.
can't be forged. Yeah,
Right.
both sides of the contract have half of a stick that's split down the middle, so it can never be replicated because the wood always splits in a different way.
Right.
And then marks are cut across when both pieces are brought together to show a payment has been made, or
it verifies that there was an honest value for value trade here. And so, yeah, but once you go off and you just suddenly start monetizing your debt, as they call it, where you just start paying with paper value that has no value, that has to rip its value from everyone else's already existing paper.
Yeah.
And and us being the world reserve currency gives us a even extra, because we have more dollars floating around outside. We can export some of that inflation, which has helped us.
I think we for a long time we've exported all of it, but because with assisting globalization, and I don't want to go too far off track, but because the US after the Second World War became the policeman of the seas, free trade was accessible like it never has been in all of history, because the US Navy policed it and kept the seaways safe.
Yeah.
So any country that could make anything that somebody else wanted could make it and export it. So that caused a drop in the cost of a lot of goods.
Sure.
So that has masked for decades the creation of these dollars, 70-fold from against gold. There must be 70 more dollars than there was in 1970.
Right.
So the globalization has masked that.
For sure. And Walmart feeding us up those cheap plastic things that we somehow have been buying for a long time. It gives that illusion of, okay, we're getting our value here. When in actuality, that thing breaks within a week. But so, yeah, there's been a big masking, and but I think we're starting to get down to the nitty gritty of it. And I think it would be interesting to try to start to value gold and silver in something besides paper, because I think soon, if the volatility keeps going, it would be interesting. Like I hear that an ounce of silver and a chicken have been trading for a long time at a pretty even ratio.
Okay.
So I find that kind of interesting.
That's an expensive chicken, isn't it?
It is a little bit, but I suppose like chickens have been going up. See, because they've had all this bird flu, blah blah blah, and killed a whole bunch of them off, and then the eggs went up, and then people were like, "Oh, I need a chicken,"
Okay. Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch some of those things, and I guess you could do it with gas, right? Like a couple dimes would buy you a gallon of gas way back in the day, and it still does today.
I just see Broke Stacker there about making a stable coin backed by physical gold. I mean, you've got lots of people who are trying it to a certain degree. You've got loads, Kinesis. There was one called Silver Token. I think that's defunct now. But the issue there is trust, and then isn't it? And the issue also is getting government being allowed to use it. It's
and glint. Yep.
Glint.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff going on there. I am surprised that it's so sporadic to me a little bit. It's interesting, but we do have some states that are, have called it legal tender now, and
with the gold backs as well. Yeah, it's
well, not even
New Hampshire,
Utah. It calls it specie. So if it's gold or silver, or even gold backs. Yeah, so that's promising, but it's so abstract. I don't think a lot of people even know about that. I'm actually quite impressed that there's some states that have went that far already. It's very promising in my opinion, but so I don't know. That's interesting to me anyway. All right, let's see here. Let's talk a little about osmium before we get out of here. Anything new going on with osmium?
Well, just sort of going back to what we're talking about, I mean, osmium would almost be a perfect commodity to tokenize because of its incredibly secure database, its visual recognition features, the densest elements that can't be forged. It would be
doesn't break down easily. Can't acid.
It's the most inert element. Yeah, I mean, osmium would be great for the highest tier. I mean, you could go. Is Neil still here? So I guess we'd have to say osmium, platinum, gold, silver to keep Neil happy, because we all know platinum is superior to gold. So it'd be osmium, platinum, gold, silver.
Yep.
I mean, osmium would have the advantage, just a handful would satisfy very large transactions. So the cost of moving high value transactions in a physical, tangible form would be very low.
Yep, for sure. And even moving from country to country, it's great for that.
Yeah.
As well,
I'm not sure what the customs rules are if you're wearing jewelry, if there's any limit to the value.
I don't know.
So you could
they're supposed to let jewelry go, from what I understand.
So you could have osmium jewelry. You could easily wear $1 million.
Right.
Easy, you know.
Yeah, easy, exactly. Yeah.
So
you might stand out, but
so yeah, I mean, the price has been edging up. I still haven't had any information on the price rise that was supposed to come. So I will do my best. I'll take a note now, make sure I've got an update for that for our next time, or I'll let you know, LLC, so you can announce.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Because that would be good to know. They did promise me 2 or 3 days notice, and I haven't had that yet, but I noticed the price has been edging up, but that's partly because it's the dollar euro and the Swiss franc ratios.
Sure.
Oh yeah, Neil, osmium on platinum. Yeah, I am hoping to get an osmium insert into a platinum bar. So hopefully we can get that done fairly soon. Oh, here we go. Dubsey's coins. Customs requires declaring jewelry purchase of $800 or more. Wow. So you can't.
There you go. I thought you were supposed to be clear on jewelry.
Wow. But you can travel with it. So you could take it, if you bought it in your home country, you could leave your home country. But I guess it's if you're traveling and purchase jewelry. That's a tiny amount, isn't it?
Yeah, that's nothing. I don't know. Osmium might look pretty blingy, but I think you could get away with quite a bit there. I don't know about with osmium.
I doubt if anyone in customs really knows
right
what it is, really. I mean, yeah, I've never been asked about the osmium watch.
Yeah, that watch is so amazing. He had that when he came down and visited, and man, it's amazing to see that in person.
So what you need is a watch that you can slide discs of osmium out to move your.
Right. It's not a bad idea right there.
Oh, Gerald's got a comment. Do you want to pull Gerald's comment up there? Yeah, I have spoken several times to Scarlett Klaus, the vice president of the Osmium Institute, and they are really interested in doing something like this, but they have not. They've only been approached by people who want to hypothecate the osmium. They would fully support and assist any group that would come together and, you know, do this, but it would have to be 100% backed. So
Yeah.
if you sell $1 million of tokenized osmium, you have to have $1 million in physical osmium.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but
why not? I mean, that's a great.
It's interesting. I mean, yeah, we'll have to talk more, Gerald, because we could start with 5 or 10,000. You know, I'd put a bit into that, and just start it small. I mean, you've got. I mean, the fractional amounts are a little bit harder, but the smallest pieces are still around the $20. So, but I like what you're saying, because then you can you could build up and then buy a bigger piece. And there's a big range of sizes and values available. But yeah, I mean, there'd be a fair few things to do, but I think it would work really well.
A fair few things, I'm sure. You know what's kind of funny though is or I don't know, maybe not funny, but so for me there was a whole bunch of hype about Bitcoin after the big power outage, and I was like, it didn't even phase anybody. There's no, I don't know, for me, like that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I do have some friends who are into crypto. I still have a few left. I haven't scared all of them away. It will revert to its fundamental value at some point. Just as Voltaire said about fiat currency in the 17th century, I think it was. He said fiat currency will always revert to its fundamental value, which is zero.
Yeah.
It's just at what point.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't want to be holding it at 70,000 and then that's its peak and then it reverts to zero.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, as far as for speculating and gaining, you know, if you're looking for something to speculate or gamble on, I for sure say that you can make money off of it. Yep. And that's fine. I don't, for my own moral reasons, but just as far as for what I was more thinking is, you hear people talking about, oh, safety this and you know, we got to have something to keep the government's mittens off things. I'm like, well, you just had the government swallow it up basically. Plus, did you not just witness that huge computer outing? And do you not understand that they're talking the way that stackers talk, like, you know, but it's like, well, do you not realize that, you know, to me, anything online, if it's online, well, you know,
it's a whole series. It's a whole series of counterparty risks.
Yeah.
Because that computer outage, that was CrowdStrike. I was talking. I've got a client friend who he works in that world of these so-called security systems, and he says it's just unbelievable the access CrowdStrike has to people's databases. They're just wide open for them to do updates. It's
crazy.
So yeah, no, I agree with you there that those vulnerabilities are incredibly high.
Yep. Gerald, what are you saying there? That is start with a yeah.
No, that I think you got a really good. It's been proposed a few times, and the Osmium Institute have been approached. But the people who approached them was on the basis of, we can pump it and dump it. You can get rich and retire. And they said, go away, please, in the polite German. Because they're not about that. They're pretty, you know, the whole Osmium Institute, very integrous people.
Yeah, seemed to be. I mean, I heard her talking about it was selling money, and she was very serious. She knew what she was talking about as well. So I know that they have obviously spent some time on it.
Well, Ellie, Ellie there says about osmium jewelry. Yes, we do hope to get some basic pieces on the website soon, so people can have a look and get a good price indication. The price varies considerably from the actual individual piece of osmium, but we will get some pieces up there hopefully in the next few days, so people can pretty well buy it at the cost of the osmium and the gold and the labor for making it.
And after watching Space Miner's wonderful program he put out the other night, I'm getting myself a Tom Love microscope to show off the osmium a little bit better.
Oh, cool.
He did a really, I don't know if you happened to catch.
I didn't know.
He had a little auction or sale a few weeks ago, a month or so ago, and he really showed it off well. So I'm gonna get myself a little Tom Love that I can hook up to the computer as well, and then I can share my screen and have it pop up like that text did earlier. So, and he had a little, he called it a jewelry picker or something, and he was able to pick it up with some little sticky pin thing that I got to get.
Okay.
I think he said Hobby Lobby. So got a couple things he's schooling me on already. Cool. All right. What else? What do you got for silver deals going on there? You got any?
There is a deal coming up. Well, actually, it's available now. It's the lowest premium I've ever seen on a sovereign coin. Unfortunately, at the moment, it is for monster boxes, but it's a $1.88 premium on Austrian Philharmonics.
$1.88.
So I'm hoping we can get some boxes and split them, but at the moment we can only do that with whole boxes at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to do that so people can buy a tube or two instead of having to buy the whole 500.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with something there, won't we?
Yeah. So Austrian Philharmonics $1.88 premium, and and then we have plenty of buffaloes, different varieties. I never knew. Well, I did know, but I've never seen so many. We've had so many different ones come in. This one has got some dated ones.
Oh yeah, that's a unique one there.
Oh, let's try to
get you.
So plenty of buffalo rounds. These are pretty fun. These came in. I'm trying to work out. I think this is one of the mining companies. I'm not sure. Maybe you'll recognize this. It looks like a prospector, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's your basic prospector, but it's definitely unique. I don't know who that is.
And on the back, it's a breaker.
I do know who this emblem on the back is.
You know that one?
I do, but I can't think of their name. It's
North Star, could be. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I have seen that back anyway. I have one with a back like that somewhere, and I know that I heard the name before I asked about it. It's a mint, something mint, but I can't think of what it is.
Northern Territorial, maybe NTR. I don't know.
No, it's a weird.
They're pretty cool. They sort of remind me of the Canadian dollars with the trees and the mountains.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Usually, you get some ripples in a river. That's kind of more flat. So it's interesting.
And then we got Stagecoach game breaker bar.
Oh yeah, those are nice too. Yep, that's what's on the flip side of that breaker bar.
There we go.
Oh, the stage. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to get me some of those too. Those are cool. I like those breakers.
Nice mirror finish. And we got, oh my gosh, so many. Probably got about 30 different types of rounds at the moment. I'm just trying to work my way through cataloging. Cool. I presume you're supposed to just snap them. Have you ever snapped one, LLC?
So I have not, but I bought some from Coin Crew, and he did live with a pair of channel locks pliers.
Okay, just grip them, bend them.
grip them, bend them. Of course, it scuffs your. He didn't
Yeah.
put anything on it, so it scuffed them up. But what was interesting, it didn't look like they would weigh out like
And they
they're
did.
on him, but they were spot on weight.
Really?
So, yep.
Wow.
So yeah, I thought that was cool.
I guess if you wrap some vice grips, if you wrap the jaws with tape, they'd probably grip. You'd probably be able to snap them without marking them.
Yeah, and put it in a real vise instead of 2-channel lock. You could definitely do a better job, but it works, and they weighed out, so that's kind of the key, I suppose.
Ellie says, how much for the stage cut? These are cheap and cheerful, so
cheap and cheerful. Nice.
Make me an offer. We got lots of them.
Give him a call, Al. His number is, let me pop that up on the screen here. I think I should have. His number is 307-260. Let me get myself up there. 307-264-9441. Or email Ian at ARK SGO.com. Give him a call, guys. Great deals.
Oh, I also found I've got a few more of the Mark 1 ARK 10-ounce bars.
Oh, nice. See, now that's one thing I don't even have yet is the 10-ounce. I have a 2-ounce, but I still need a 10-ounce.
So that's the Mark 1 2022. Jim lovingly made these. And then we have got some of the Mark 2s when we rebranded ARK Silver Gold Osmium.
You better put a couple of those with my name to the side.
Well, there's never going to be any more the same because
I better get one of each of those.
Yeah, because Jim made these, and yeah, so it's time to sell a few of them.
All right,
but didn't he do a good job? It's
those are awesome. Indeed.
Yeah,
I really like them. And that's vacuum cast, right?
Yes, in a vacuum cast, but everything else is pretty well manual. Even lining up the stamp, he made a printed plastic holder to line the bar up, and then he'd bring the press down manually. So,
and there's a video if you guys want to check out. Oh, I should have. Next time I need to get that link for the video, but I think there's a video of him actually working together and popping making those bars on
Gold Silver Pros.
Yep, yeah. Gold Silver Pros. And if you type in Ian and over on Gold Silver Pros, what would that? You remember what the video would have been called?
Oh my! Well, it was 100th bar that Jim processed.
Okay. Wow,
it was Gold Silver Pros limited edition of 90 bars we made.
Cool. Go check that out. Homestead Aquarius, good to see you. Tiger Stacker, thanks for being here. L. Nickel. Broke Stacker, Gerald Draper, thanks for being here, guys. Niels Han Dynasty, Space Miner. Thank you for hanging out. Silver and Cigars. And Ricky's House of Crap, thanks so much for hanging out with us. You got anything you want to leave with the people before we roll out? Dub C, thanks for hanging.
Yeah, let's take note that the political party system is set up to keep the people fighting each other.
Hear, hear.
I think it's time we stop presuming any government is going to come and sort everything out and create paradise. They're not. I don't think they're all bad, but a lot of them are. I don't think they all become part of government to enrich themselves, but a lot do. I'm sure there's some very good ones there, but I think the political system in the US actually actively deters good people from entering into it. So don't hold your breath for the government to come and sort everything out. It's not happening.
Yeah, when they take the the bullets away from the southern wall there before everything kicks off and they open everything up. I mean, you can't now, no matter what you try to do to fix it. It's there's an intentional element here that's happening that's
Yeah.
it's not okay, but needs to be, you need to be aware of it, in my opinion.
Gross
So
stuff. Yeah.
indeed, Ian, I agree. Good words there.
And just do what we can to build our communities, and we have a privilege. We can do stuff like this, can't we? And you're doing a great job, LLC, building a community. And I think if we learn to keep learning from other people. It's
that's it. That's what I was going to say. This community just that's on here tonight, just in the chat.
Yeah.
There's amazing people just in the chat, and I think we are lucky to have each other, and yeah, we should keep that up and keep helping each other, and yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I see Homestead's comment about drain the swamp. I think ignore the swamp.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, if you
get too close to it, I mean, you look at the Project 2025. It wasn't, their proposal isn't to reduce government, it's to increase government.
Yeah.
Just replace a whole load of part of the swamp with another swamp. So I think anybody in that system, they had this idea that politicians and government and diktats and will sort stuff out, and there's a role for it, but it's nowhere near as big as it, that the need isn't anywhere near as big as it's got. It's become its own Borg, really. Any Star Trek fans, it's become a system that just assimilates and absorbs and has to keep on growing.
Yep, it's corrupt.
So I don't think the swamp is going anywhere. The best we can do is ignore it, at least not feed it anyway, not give it our energies, not give it our...
Yeah, pull the plug if you see one handy to the swamp, and then walk away.
Yeah.
Cool. Indeed, assimilate, Dubsy. And Space Miner says, Ian, would you rather?
I mean, there was something beautiful, simple, wasn't there, about gold, silver, copper?
Yep.
It takes so much energy to find, mine, refine. I guess part of the issue now with silver is we are consuming it. So that could make it hard for using silver as money. That could be a problem. Gold isn't really an issue because it keeps increasing, the amount of gold that's available. Pretty well, it's followed human population growth pretty well for about 6,000 years.
And another key thing is just to keep it some type in reality, real. Like, even if silver got used up and you had to move to copper, most it's keeping it in reality.
Yeah.
And being honest about your, that's so much of it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
So I don't think possibly even in my lifetime we will see sound money, but it doesn't stop us going into becoming our own banks and moving ever closer to our own sound money system. So I think we need to be realistic and accept there's a fusion. The dollar is really good as money apart from a store of value. It's universally accepted. It's divisible. It's portable. It's pretty well free to make transactions, but it doesn't store. And George Gammon made the point that gold and silver can't really be money because they're not universally acceptable, and they're not practically portable for day-to-day uses. So, but there's nothing wrong with having a hybrid system. That's what we're doing, isn't it, LLC?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
sure.
when I sell precious metals and osmium, people pay me in dollars, and I turn them round and turn them into more gold, silver, and osmium.
Yep.
But the dollar is the lubricant. It's the it's the known way of transferring. I mean, we do take payment in Bitcoin, but I do tell people the dollar amount that you've paid me will be the amount when I press the button and cash it, turn it into dollars, not what you sent. It's like it might be higher, it might be lower. So I think for the next few decades, the dollar will still be around. But it gives us the privilege for people who've worked it out for whatever reason to take an overvalued currency and buy undervalued money.
Oh, for sure. That's
it's
the
a privilege, isn't it?
Aspiring alchemist right now is the thing to do.
Yeah.
But and another thing I wanted to point out, like we were talking, if per se that there was a flip and we did go back to gold and silver and we noticed, silver's being used up, and the main thing is not to give the keys to someone else. Like right now, not only did we go off of a sound money standard, we gave the keys to some corrupt person who can just print as much as they want, which makes them the most corrupt, powerful.
And they're under the control of those leading financiers that are forming an imperialism to rule the world.
Exactly. Yeah. 100 years ago.
What does that mean? It means amassing the bulk of human effort and the bulk of the physical resources, goods and services.
Yep. And we need to, that was another point, I think, is, we should, and might be a little over ambitious here, but start making our own net, like we were just talking, I guess we kind of are, but our own networks where trading becomes easy amongst us as well, because they're building a new system, and they've, like we talked, they drained the system, sell gold, sell hotel. Now all the central banks are going to buy it all up, so they'll have their base when no one else does.
Yep.
And so that system is being formed, and they're going to implement that. So I think the better we are to have something going along the side, so it's not such a I don't know if that's possible or not, but that would be, I feel, a smart thing to do. Anyway, awesome, Ian. Well, thank you so much. We'll be getting you back on here again in another couple of weeks. What else can we leave the people with here as we head out?
I mean, if you can, I would urge everybody print out a copy of that speech that I read out. Just look at it, do a little study on it, underline the points, and it makes so many things fall into place. This is not being altered. This is exactly what was said. There was a boast even then that it's been so successfully accomplished. This has only increased. As the world's become more and more financialized, the power of these people has increased. And this is the 100-year anniversary when this speech was made. So I would say, look at it, and it put things in perspective. That is it too much to say these are our enemies? I think in a way they are the enemies of human liberty and human. They want to steal human life, the effort of life. So, but if we know their plan, and we know they're planning in centuries, it makes sense that it's fine for us to plan in decades.
Yeah, and
if we're stacking now, if you're stacking and then with the hope and expectation you can use that in 10 or 20 years, you're bypassing these elites because it will pay off in dividends, your purchasing power. I mean, many of us haven't got the period, 54 years, 53 years from, ahead of us, but some of you have, and your children hopefully will.
Yeah.
Look what gold did, $35 to $2,500, a factor of 70. Now it hasn't got that's not 70 times the purchasing power, but it is substantially more purchasing power than it had in 1970.
Oh boy.
I think from what I studied and what I understand, we're going to see a move in the precious metals where we're going to get multiple increase in purchasing power in years, not decades.
Yeah. And you're talking about the corruption, and are they in the and could they be tied in and this and that? It would be one thing if they did all this and they were just they came to the end and they said, okay, Jubilee, and we started over fresh, and that then I might not be quite as mad at them but I think what the incredibly sinister part about it is they're doing this on purpose, so that they can subjugate us and make us into slaves, and that's what I think is the bad part about it, for sure. I mean, it's all bad, but I mean, you might could give them a little bit of an oh, you played the wrong card there thing, but I think it was even the worst part about it is I think it's intentional, and I think it's done this way to drain us, and so that we don't have an option, and so that they can have complete control. And anyway, a little gloomy there at the end, but yeah, I mean, I how else, unless they pull that card of, and it would still be bad, even if they said, okay, we now, like it, it was still bad. It's still wrong.
We admit it. We've stolen the bulk of human effort over the last 100 years. We've accumulated it into this massive trillions and trillions of currency, and then we've converted that fake currency into real things. We've bought all of your farmland, we've bought all of your minerals, we've bought that. We own the government. We don't have to buy them, we own them. That's not going to happen, is it? No, they're not going to. No, because they would have nowhere to hide if they admitted it. But yeah, I mean, we've woken up. So, I mean, if each of us could help somebody else wake up in the next few days, next few weeks, it would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Right. For sure. Anybody, any little, you bet. Yep. One makes a big difference if you can help one person out, because then they may go out and get somebody else, and it just keeps going. So. And
I love Gerald's idea about the osmium. Thank you, Gerald, for reminding me, because I think it's perfect. I don't think there's a tangible asset more suitable.
Right? Yep.
Because we know the exact quantity.
Right. And it's each one has its own built-in code.
Every piece is unique. And we know the time scale over it's going to be produced. We know who the producer is, and we know who the original owner is. There's no secrecy. We know it's made by Rolf in Switzerland. Right. And we know it goes to the Osmium Institute in Germany, where it's cut, certified, graded. And if it passes, it's put up for sale. And if it doesn't, it goes back and it's recrystallized. So there's an honesty to it. It's very, very transparent.
No, that is cool.
And we got a time scale, 2026. That will be when the 350th kilo will be converted into the crystalline form. Let's keep working on it, Gerald.
Awesome.
And everybody else who's interested, I think we could start something informally pretty quickly.
Awesome. Sounds good, guys. Well, I think it's a good place to wrap her up for the night. What do you think?
I think so.
All right. Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for hanging out and giving us your ideas and feedback. And Ian, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Thank you, LLC. Say hi to the family.
Will do. All right, guys, we will catch you on the next one. Should be coming up here this weekend. Probably have a pop-up even before that. So see you soon.